So,
a lot of cash.
the lack of affordable housing on a federal level, national level, I should say, you keep reading it every day, and whether it's the Real Deal or the New York Times or all these periodicals, that people are fleeing primary markets, they're fleeing New York, Los Angeles, and heading to secondary markets like Phoenix, Miami. What are you seeing on your side?
I think that there was some fear that people would do that, but we haven't seen people, at least in New York City, leave on that type of a scale. I mean, people are actually really excited to stay in New York City, which has been great for the Queens market specifically. But on a national level, I mean, we're seeing prices that are the highest they've ever been. And the average is 18 days on market right now, nationally. So you have to be so prepared.
Homes being bought sight unseen,
yeah,
is that the
some
term?
sight unseen in some markets. I mean, you know, Queens and New York is a bit behind certain parts of the city, certainly, but you're talking about a 2-month supply of homes nationally, which is nothing. I mean, it's the lowest inventory we've ever had, it's the highest prices we've ever had, so it's an extremely competitive market. I understand there were 30 million change of addresses the USPS recorded in 2020. So this created so much movement, and people are just moving in every way that they possibly can.
Do you, in your professional opinion, do you think that this is an acute response, or this is going to be something chronic over a long, say, 18-month period? What's your outlook? Do you think it's going to continue?
It's really the million-dollar question, right? Are these going to be patterns that are going to persist? Are people going to continue to move further from the city, thinking they're not going to have to go back in 5 days a week?
Yeah, right.
What's going to happen?
Nobody wants to go back to work.
Exactly. Nobody wants to go back to the office. So we'll see. I mean, I think the shift toward people caring more about their home and wanting a larger home and wanting more space is certainly a trend that's going to continue.
Interestingly enough, I was watching an interview the other day of a CEO of a large real estate company here based in New York, and she said that it's not that people are going to be buying vacation homes as second, they're just going to be buying second homes. So you're going to have one home potentially here in New York and another home wherever else in the secondary market, but you're going to be splitting your time.
Yeah.
Have you seen some of that?
Absolutely. I mean, we saw so many people exit New York and head to their vacation homes, whether they're upstate or the east end of Long Island, and actually even send their kids to school there. So people really plan to
100%.
spend more time out in those spaces, and actually having more flexibility in what they're looking to purchase in this area, because they really realize, like, we don't need to be right near the city. And we're seeing Eastern Queens as a really exciting market for that reason.
Very interesting. Rafael, what are you seeing rate-wise? And I know that it's fluid, it changes on a day-in, day-out basis, but just on a macro level, what are you seeing?
I see the trend.
How's the Fed reacting to
I mean,
it?
look, they're committed to obviously continuing to pump money to the system. I think the system's still somewhat fragile. You know, people got to get back to work at some point, and you know, we have to obviously pay these funds. You know, inflation is obviously something that they want to see, and until that number starts to move at a level that they're comfortable with, you know, they're going to keep, you know, pumping money into the system. So
Exactly.
it's interesting. I mean, I'm seeing inflation, right? You have been to Home Depot lately. I mean, I'm, you know,
Sure.
trying to buy
Supply chain issues across the board.
across the board, and so I'm confused as to what they're seeing, but ultimately I see rates kind of hovering. It's still the cheapest money that you're going to find in the history, I think, of banking, right? And even if we start touching fours, I mean, it might disqualify a certain pocket of buyers.
Yeah.
But I think it's still a very, you know, I think it's still free money, right? Yeah.
And just in that statement, there's so many issues, right? There's so many issues. First-time home buyers, right? Used to be you could go out, you could buy a house for, you know, maybe your parents or family helped you out a little bit. You could get into a home with your young family. We're not seeing that anymore because of all of those things. Lumber costs have gone up 3x in the past 6 months or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if I, as a developer, need to put more money into the project, it has to manifest somewhere. And where's it going to manifest? On the back end?
Well, let me touch on something. So Biden is floating a first-time home buyer bill.
Okay. That's great. See, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I haven't, you know, peeled it back yet and looked under the hood, but it's interesting. I mean, you know, you're inspiring, which is great. You know, a lot of potential new first-time buyers, but the issue is, once again, there's nothing to buy, right? So, you know, my theory is we need to create incentives for builders to build, right? So that we can get more people in homes. I mean, part of the problem is, can we bring a product to the market that is affordable for that first time buyer, right? And that's where the problem lies. And I think that it's a little misconstrued. I love the concept, but we need to have a product to deliver that $15,000 benefit to that buyer. If you don't have a product, and I mean, you know the market, right? If there's no inventory, what seller's gonna consider someone who is obviously, you know, lower down payment when you have 20 other competing offers, right? I mean,
well, they won't. I mean, you know, again, all of that stuff is taken into consideration. I mean, to continue to incentivize people to purchase is great, but we don't have a lack of purchasers right now. And I think you pointed it out. We have a lack of inventory, and that is really the chronic issue. And also, you have to think about who's buying, especially in the Queens market. I mean, the price point is higher generally, obviously, than it is nationally, where the average is like 300,000 and change. So you're seeing that's
a little bit higher.
A little bit higher. So you're looking at a bit of a different market, but I think it's actually, you know, I love the idea of getting newer buyers into homes. What we're seeing though with new buyers is they're jumping from that small apartment, which was really moving so quickly before the pandemic. It was a studio with a one bedroom. You can't, those aren't moving right now. People are jumping straight to the bigger apartment or right into the house.
They want the outdoor space.
Yeah, they want the outdoor space, and also there's a lot of family support. There's a lot of gifting still happening. We're seeing tons and tons of people being gifted money. I'm sure part of it is the stock market. If you had a parent or someone in your family that can help you that way, we're seeing a lot of that coming into people's down payments and helping to facilitate purchases.
It's funny, I was talking to a friend this morning, also a Compass, you might know. But you know, he's a realtor big time, you know, he does a lot of new dev. And what he's seeing, ironically, is Bitcoin surge, right?
So interesting.
People have, you know, created this tremendous amount of wealth due to this Bitcoin, and he's actually trying to negotiate, you know, a deal where the guy wants to pay in Bitcoin.
The entire contract price of Bitcoin? Or
yeah, it's ironic, and it's a huge deal, big deal. And it's ironic that, you know, we're starting to see all these different type of factors that we would have never seen in the past, right? And Bitcoin, they was like, Bitcoin, no.
So we could do an entire session just on. We could do an entire session just on cryptocurrency. I think obviously from a legal perspective, it presents a whole variety of issues, right? And especially in a market such as crypto that is highly volatile, how do you factor in that volatility into the 4 pages of the contract, right? And it's a developing area of law, one that I think is going to be brought to the forefront, especially as people start considering crypto and Bitcoin specifically as a new stored value as opposed to using USD. Super interesting. On the banking side, you see underwriters starting to tighten up. Are they a bit more conservative than pre-COVID? During COVID, I felt we were all working harder, but less and less was getting done just by nature of what was going on in the world. But now that things have, God willingly, settled down, how do you see bank underwriters reacting to what's in front of them?